Well, the Sixers are moving on to the next round. They're currently playing against the Knicks, getting ready for game two, coming off of a game one tough loss. But before I talk about this Knicks series, I got to react to this Celtics dub first. I got to react to this Celtics closeout, especially because of what Jaylen Brown has been saying, since that win, since the Sixers win. I gotta react to this first before I move on to the Knicks. But the Sixers coming back from a 3-1 lead or a 3-1 deficit against the Celtics, a 50-win team during the regular season, a team that was by all accounts favored to beat the Sixers in the first round. Coming back from a 3-1 deficit, beating the Celtics the way that they did, bro, that definitely deserves an acknowledgement. Definitely deserves an acknowledgement, especially because of what Jaylen Brown has been saying. Like, bro, Jaylen Brown, of course, that like I honestly would not have expected this from Jaylen Brown, but whenever there's a win in the playoffs, you're gonna have your sore loser. You're gonna have your sick individuals. This is what Jaylen Brown had to say right immediately after the Celtics game 7 loss to the Sixers, completing the 3-1 comeback.
Flopping has ruined our game. Joel Embiid is a great player, one of the best bigs in fucking basketball history. Flops. He know it. This ain't breaking news. This ain't, you know what I mean? It is what it is. Y'all can clip it up, like I said. Y'all can post it on these paid accounts that y'all, these bot, whatever. That's just my opinion.
Jaylen Brown sounds weak. Jaylen Brown sounds weak. Like, blaming the game 7 loss, the series loss, on Joel Embiid flopping, on something else he also said, the refs having a personal agenda against him individually as a player. Like, Jaylen Brown sounds weak. Like, the Celtics didn't give up a 3-1 lead because Joel Embiid supposedly flopped. Like, the Celtics didn't give up a 3-1 lead because there's a personal agenda by the refs against Jaylen Brown. The Celtics gave up a 3-1 lead because the Sixers proved to be a better team in this series than the Celtics. It's that simple. The Sixers proved to be a better team than the Celtics in this series. The Celtics lost a 3-1 lead because Joel Embiid came back. The Celtics lost a 3-1 lead because Jason Tatum came back for the Celtics. The Celtics lost a 3-1 lead because the Sixers were far more efficient in their scoring from the field than the Celtics. The Celtics didn't give up a 3-1 lead because of flopping. The Celtics didn't shoot 12 for 41 from the three-point line because of an agenda by the refs. The Celtics gave up a 3-1 lead because the Sixers were just the outright better team. The Celtics gave up a 3-1 lead because Nick Nurse outcoached Joe Mazzulla. Like, the Celtics gave up a 3-1 lead because the Sixers just flat out outplayed them in every aspect of the game, especially in game 7. Like, there's no any other excuses from Jaylen Brown in regards to this game 7 L for them. It just makes him sound weak. It honestly makes him sound weak. Jaylen Brown sounds weak right now after this game 7 L that the Sixers handed the Celtics. He says Joel Embiid flopped. He says the refs have a personal agenda against him individually as a player. Like, the Celtics giving up a 3-1 lead had nothing to do with flopping. The Celtics shooting 12 for 41, 12 for 41 from the three-point line had nothing to do with an agenda by the refs. The Sixers came back from 3-1 because they were the better team. The Sixers came back from 3-1 because Joel Embiid came back. The Sixers came back from game 1 because VJ Edgecombe played out of his mind. The Sixers came back from a 3-1 lead because Tyrese Maxey played like a top 3-point guard in the NBA. The Sixers came back from a 3-1 lead because they played like the better defensive team, i.e. Kelly Oubre and Quentin Grimes. The Sixers came back from a 3-1 lead because Nick Nurse outcoached Joe Mazzulla. The Sixers came back from a 3-1 lead because Jason Tatum came back for the Celtics. The Sixers came back from a 3-1 lead because they were the flat-out better team in that series. They were the better team. They were the better team in Game 7, and they were the better team in that series as a whole. That's why the Sixers came back from 3-1. Had nothing to do with flopping or the refs. Like, all the excuses Jaylen Brown is using right now just make him sound weak. They just make him sound weak. And honestly, it really surprises me because Jaylen Brown, if anything this year, earned loads of respect. Loads of respect. Carrying the Celtics the way he did in the absence of Jason Tatum, in the absence of Al Horford, who was traded away, in the absence of KP, who was traded away, in the absence of Drew Holiday, who departed from Boston. A year that was supposed to be a rebuilding year for Boston, Jaylen Brown led the Celtics to being a 2 seed in the East. Jaylen Brown earned a lot of respect this year, but he's losing respect now the way he is handling this Game 7 loss. The way he's handling this Game 7 loss. Like, Jaylen Brown looks weak right now. He looks weak. And honestly, labeling Joel Embiid as a flopper is ridiculous. Because by labeling Joel Embiid as a flopper, you're also implying that he is weak and soft. By using the term flopping, you're also implying that Joel Embiid is a soft, non-physical, non-durable, non-gritty type of player. And if Joel Embiid has proven to be anything, is that he's anything but soft. He's anything but weak. Like, he's the complete opposite. Like, you can't a guy can't be labeled as soft when he has played through and continuously come back from multiple injuries in his career that really could have derailed the career of anyone else, of another player of his caliber. Like, bro, Joel Embiid has overcome multiple injuries in his career. There's no way he can be labeled as soft. He had Bell's palsy and a torn meniscus in 2024, still came back. He had a right knee sprain in 2023, still came back from that. He had an orbital fracture and a concussion in 2022, still came back from that. He had a torn meniscus in 2021, still came back from that. Fresh off an appendix surgery, this man dropped 34-12 on a 50-win team. 34-12 on a 50-win team right after having his appendix removed. No, fresh off an appendectomy, came back from that. Like, there was nothing soft about Joel Embiid. There's nothing soft about Joel Embiid. Like, he is the complete opposite. Like, Jaylen Brown labeling Joel Embiid as a flopper and by connection soft and weak is honestly dumb, because there was nothing soft about Joel Embiid. There's nothing soft about him. And it honestly makes no sense. So using the Joel Embiid flopping as an excuse makes no sense. And honestly, Jaylen Brown using the excuse, like Jaylen Brown saying that, oh, if Tatum was on the floor Game 7, we would have won. That's honestly dumb too. Because if anything, the Celtics proved to be a better team this year without Jason Tatum than they were with Jason Tatum. Because everyone on the squad played better when Jason Tatum was not on the floor. Everyone played better. They were a 2 seed. They secured the 2 seed without Jason Tatum. They were fighting for a 1 seed without Jason Tatum. Everyone played better on that Celtics roster while Jason Tatum was absent. Like, and Maxey even said that himself going into Game 7. Like, they were more worried about the Celtics as a team without Jason Tatum than they were having Jason Tatum back in the lineup. That's what they were more worried about. So if anything, the Sixers played the Celtics at their full strength as opposed to a weakened version. Like, Jaylen Brown using Jason Tatum's absence as an excuse for why the Celtics lost Game 7 makes no sense, because if anything, the Celtics have been a better squad this year without Jason Tatum. Tyrese Maxey even said it himself going into Game 7 that the Sixers team as a whole was more worried about seeing this Celtics team without Jason Tatum on the floor as opposed to with Jason Tatum on the floor. And you can honestly just see that in the way the Celtics have played basketball this season. Without Jason Tatum, everyone on the Celtics roster was better than they were with Jason Tatum on the floor. Every single person. Jaylen Brown was playing at an MVP level. Derek White was averaging 20 to 23 points per game, was impacting the game on both offense and defense. Peyton Pritchard was averaging 14 to 18 points per game, but was liable to go off for 25 to 30 points on on basically like every other game. You had Sam Hauser, who was averaging 12 to 15 points per game. You had Luka Garza and Baylor Shireman looking like two of the best role players in the NBA this year. Garza was averaging 10 points per game. Shireman was averaging 12 points per game. Like, everyone on that roster was better without Jason Tatum on the floor. Jason Tatum comes back, and now all of a sudden it's the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum show. Those two are cooking on offense, jacking up on offense. Everyone else is stagnant, standing around the three-point line. Like, this team looks totally different with Jason Tatum on the floor than they did without Jason Tatum. So if anything, the Sixers played the Celtics at full strength, at their best in Game 7, as opposed to them supposedly playing a weaker version just because Jason Tatum wasn't out there. So Jaylen Brown using Tatum's absence as an excuse makes no sense, because the Celtics this year have been a better team statistically than they have been with Jason Tatum. They've been a better team statistically this year without Tatum than they were with Tatum. So that honestly makes no sense. And honestly, something else that I realized in watching this Sixers-Celtics game, if Game 7 proved anything, if Game 7 against the Celtics proved anything, it's that Joel Embiid is the best scoring big man of all time. Joel Embiid is the best scoring center of all time. Like, bro, weeks after an appendectomy, having his appendix removed, this man dropped 34 and 12 on a 50-win team in Game 7. Game 7, 34 and 12 against a 50-win team. Almost no other superstar in the NBA is doing that. Almost no other superstar. Like, honestly, Joel Embiid is the best scoring center of all time. Of all time. Because even if you want to look at other centers from different eras, they're like, I don't think there's a center in any era in the NBA that is doing what Joel Embiid did in Game 7 against the Celtics just a few weeks after having his appendix removed. There's no other center. Like, honestly, Joel Embiid is the best scoring center of all time. You look at other like dominant scoring centers in the history of the NBA. You obviously think about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, now the second leading all-time scorer in the history of the NBA. You think about Shaq, arguably the most dominant center of all time. You think about Jokic, obviously just an all-around complete offensive center that he is, big man that he is. I would take a healthy Joel Embiid before any of those three. I would take a healthy Joel Embiid before any of those three. You look at Joel Embiid versus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a lethal scorer, but he had nowhere near the perimeter game that Joel Embiid has. Not nearly as dangerous from the perimeter as a healthy Joel Embiid. You look at Joel Embiid versus Shaq. Shaq, super dominant inside scorer. A young Shaq could even run the floor, push the floor in fast break situations. But Shaq was not near the 3-level scorer that Joel Embiid is, and he was obviously a liability from the free throw line. So Joel Embiid has him there. You look at Joel Embiid versus Jokic. Joel Embiid is a far more dominant scorer than Jokic. Jokic has little to no athleticism. Even though he has the finesse, the touch, he has little to no athleticism, whereas Embiid is a 7-foot center that has the athleticism of a wing. He can take you off the dribble. Jokic is not taking anybody off the dribble. He's not scoring off the dribble like Joel Embiid can. So if I'm looking at the best scoring centers of all time, I'm taking a healthy Joel Embiid before anyone else. And all of these guys are obviously dominant. We're talking about Hall of Famers, best scoring big men of all time. I am taking a healthy Joel Embiid before any of those guys because of his dominance, his athleticism, his skill set, the range to his game, his versatility. The only thing that has held Joel Embiid back from this conversation is his health. Because if Joel Embiid had the health of these other guys, the durability of these other guys, he would no doubt have a ring by now. He would no doubt have a ring. If Giannis could do what he did healthy with that Bucks team in 2019 that had no other superstars on the roster other than him, or not 2019, in what year was that? Giannis, I think that was 2021, excuse me, 2021. Yeah, 2019 was the Raptors, I believe. If Giannis can do what he did with that Bucks team in 2021, if Giannis can win a finals with the Bucks team that he had in 2021 with no other superstars on that roster, there's no question a healthy Joel Embiid could do the same thing. A healthy Joel Embiid, no doubt, would have a ring. And that's honestly the only thing that keeps Joel Embiid that's honestly the only thing that keeps Joel Embiid out of these best scoring center conversations, best scoring center of all time conversations in some people's minds, is because of his health. If Joel Embiid was healthy, a healthy Joel Embiid, no question, wins a ring and is higher up in this scoring center conversation. If a healthy Giannis can do what he did with the Bucks in 2021, winning a finals with no other superstar on the roster, just a lot of good players to solid role players. If Giannis could do what he did with that squad, there's no question Joel Embiid could have won a healthy Joel Embiid could have won a ring by now with the talent he's had on his squads. Jimmy Butler, an all-star Ben Simmons, a third to fourth option Tobias Harris, a young Tyrese Maxey, and James Harden. Like, there's no question a healthy Joel Embiid would have won a ring by now. The only thing that's keeping Joel Embiid out of these all-time conversations is his health. Because there's no doubt skill-wise, Joel Embiid is close to untouched. Skill-wise, Joel Embiid is near untouched when it comes to these all-time conversations. So Joel Embiid 1000% is the best scoring center of all time. And honestly, if I'm looking at Embiid versus Jokic, I'm taking a healthy Joel Embiid before a healthy Jokic any day of the week. Any day of the week. Like, Joel Embiid is a dominant scorer for sure. Jokic is a dominant facilitator, but Joel Embiid is way more of a dominant scorer. Like Jokic is not nearly as pure of a scorer as Joel Embiid is. Not nearly. And in the playoffs, like, I know Jokic is more established in the playoffs, like a champion, finals MVP. But even in the playoffs, the only thing that's holding Embiid back from this conversation is his health. Because honestly, you look at Jokic and Embiid side by side in the playoffs, Jokic is more established, but Embiid beat a 50-win team in the playoffs before Jokic did. Jokic has never, with everything that he has done in the playoffs, Jokic has never beat a 50-win team. He's played outstanding in the playoffs. Super consistent, efficient, but he has never beat a 50-win team in the playoffs. Joel Embiid has. As of this Celtics series, Joel Embiid beat a 50-win team in the playoffs before Jokic did. Jokic has never played as good of a team in the playoffs as what Joel Embiid saw this year in the Boston Celtics. Never. So if I'm looking at Jokic and Joel Embiid side by side, I am taking a healthy Joel Embiid every day of the week before I take a healthy Jokic, because I know a healthy Joel Embiid can do a lot more than a healthy Jokic. A healthy Joel Embiid is a better scorer than a healthy Jokic, is a more dominant scorer than a healthy Jokic. A healthy Joel Embiid is a much better defender than a healthy Jokic. A healthy Joel Embiid is way more of an athlete than a healthy Jokic. So, like, if I'm looking at these two side by side, there's no question I am taking a healthy Joel Embiid over a healthy Jokic every day of the week. We're talking about the guy who has the most points per minute in the modern NBA, 270-point games, which is an all-time Sixers record. One of which was against the best overall defensive player that we might ever see in the NBA in Wemby. Highest scoring center since Shaq. Back-to-back scoring titles in 2022 and 2023, which was the first time a center has done that since Shaq. First center to average 33-plus points since the 1970s, which is the most 30-point games by a center in the modern NBA. And he's one of the most efficient high-volume scorers in NBA history. So not only is he a dominant scorer, he is a super efficient scorer. There's no question I am taking a healthy Joel Embiid over a healthy Jokic or any other dominant scoring center that we have seen in the NBA. Shaq, Kareem. Like, there's no question I am taking a healthy Joel Embiid over any other dominant scoring center that we have seen in the NBA. 1000%. 1000%. So, all the excuses that Jaylen Brown has just been spewing, the garbage that he has been spewing as a result of this game 7, that's honestly what it is. It's garbage. It makes no sense. Because labeling Joel Embiid as a flopper, as if he is soft and, only got calls because he was a good actor and it was only able to get to the free throw line because he was flopping, makes no, like, bro, one of the reasons why Jaylen Brown blaming the game 7 loss to the Sixers on Joel Embiid's flopping is dumb. One of the reasons why that is dumb is because he's acting like Joel Embiid couldn't have gotten to the free throw line even if he didn't flop a little bit. Like, bro, Joel Embiid is 7'2", 280. 7'2", 280. There are very few grown men on planet Earth that can stop that man from getting to the cup without fouling him. Like, let's be real. There are very few men on planet Earth. Not even talking basketball players, just dudes in general, whether they're bodybuilders, football players, like rugby players. Like, you think about the strongest dudes on Earth. There are very few grown men on planet Earth that are stopping a 7'2", 280" Joel Embiid from getting to the cup without fouling him. So it doesn't make a difference whether Joel Embiid flopped or not. He's getting to the free throw line regardless because nobody can stop him. Nobody can stop him, let alone dudes on the Celtics roster. The Celtics had no answer for Joel Embiid. Like, no one on the Celtics has the ability to check Joel Embiid and contain Joel Embiid and keep him from the paint. Keep him contained in the paint around the rim. So it doesn't make a difference whether he was flopping or not, even though he wasn't flopping any more than Jaylen Brown was. But even if he was, it doesn't make a difference because Jaylen Brown is acting like that's the only reason he got to the free throw line. Joel Embiid was getting to the free throw line regardless. That honestly doesn't even matter. Jaylen Brown just needs to hold his L and watch the Sixers beat up on the Knicks throughout the rest of the series from the couch. That's honestly what he needs to do. But that's all we got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. I will be reacting to game 1 of the Knicks and throughout the rest of this Knicks series. But that's all we got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. And I will be back later on with more shameless takes.